Hi, this is Shambhavi. Welcome to my weekly podcast about spirituality, love, death, devotion, and waking up while living in a messy world. The Satsang with Shambhavi podcast is recorded live each week with students of our nonprofit community, Jayakula. For more information and to find out about attending a satsang, visit jayakula.org. Thanks for listening. Much love to you, wherever and however you are. When we get back to the Satya Yuga, or whatever Yuga, we don't know if we're going to the Satya or the Dwapara, but Ma says Satya. Ma says the cycle is from Kali to Satya.
We believe Ma.
Let's believe Ma.
Without destruction?
Yeah, it doesn't require everything to be destroyed, though.
Right.
Yeah.
That is the
question.
Yeah.
It does.
It does.
Well, there would never be a time when everything would be destroyed. But there would be a lot of destruction. Because the nature of reality is, creation is part of the nature of reality. So there's never any pure destruction or pure creation. I mean, those things are always happening together.
Do you think when we go back to the Satya, if we encounter Ma in some sort of form more, like, you know, it's harder for us to reach her, but maybe it's easier in Satya.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, there's Ma.
Yeah,
Maybe there'd be multiple Ma's.
Yeah.
So each era, the thing that most characterizes it is how easy it is to perceive the divine. So as you get, the Dwapara is a little easier, the Treta it's easier, and the Satya it's most easy.
That would be amazing.
Would you even need an embodied form since the perception is so easy?
Well,
Would
what does that question imply?
I was just thinking that it, like, you know, Ma said that she came because people wanted a female form, but avatars come at times when people really need them to be reminded.
Right.
But if we were living in a time when that reminder was so close to the surface, like, not that avatars wouldn't exist, but it doesn't seem like there would be as much concentrated need for them if the average person's senses were more subtle and more able to, tune into
one of the most profound and wonderful things about waking up is we do all these things to try to realize, but we actually don't have much idea what realization is like. You know, so at every moment when we're doing our sadhana, we're kind of stepping off into the unknown. So the Satya Yuga, you know, represents the time when there's more realized beings around, and when more people would know what that was like. But from our vantage point, it's hard to know.
So there might be more teachers.
There might be, or just more different manifestations of the divine that we're able to perceive. Right? So it's unclear whether the Dwapara Yuga is an age when it's just easier to perceive those beings, or when there's actually more of them. Like, I think probably the former, that it's just easier to perceive
them.
Don't they say
always
that in the story, that they're like they're invisible to us in this age, but they still exist?
Yeah.
They're like floating around, doing whatever.
So, for instance, you know, there's this phrase in Buddhism called the Buddha fields, and the Buddha fields are perception, when you perceive that every bit of space is filled up with Buddha. And I've actually seen that a couple of times. And Ma was able to see devas wandering around. You know, I've never seen that, but I think it is what we perceive. Really, every square inch of our world is taken up with divinity. There's not ever an absence of divinity. We just have that experience, right? And I think Ma actually said this somewhere, but I'm not sure about that. That these yugas, there's one way in which we can talk about them as a cycle, but there's another way, I think, when they're all happening simultaneously. Because, you know, we know that there are people who have more perception, and that's why we're doing sadhana on one level, so that we can perceive more of what's really going on. And we know that's possible even in the Kali Yuga to have that experience. It's hard, but it is possible.
Wasn't Ma kind of an example of that? Like living in all the yugas.
Exactly.
And,
Yeah. So I think we have to consider the yugas in both ways, that we can experience them as cycles, just like we can have an experience of a path. But we also know that there really is no path, because all of these parts are being played by enlightened essence nature. So the path is just another play, another game. And the yugas also, the yugas are part of a relative's narrative about the waking up and going back into ignorance. But that's all just happening as within that totally awake essence nature. This gets into the idea of Maha time, that all of those yugas are just happening all at once within this one subjectivity. It's very important to have the feeling and hold the bhav that you're stepping off into the unknown when you're doing sadhana. That you don't know what's going to happen, that you don't have a hard and fast goal, or really any particular goals about what is going to happen. Because the thing can only happen when we have no idea stuck in our heads about it. It's like we can only feel compassion really when we're not trying to be compassionate. If we're trying to be compassionate, we're actually blocking the flow of compassion. You can't feel the love of someone, whether it's a teacher or a friend or a partner, if you're trying to get love out of someone. Because your attempt to try to get something is blocking your actual reception of that thing. So what would it be like if we all just stopped trying to get anything and just let things come to us and experience what's always coming toward us? There's always that grace and mercy and compassion coming toward us. It's always coming toward us all the time. But if we don't stop trying to get things, we don't feel it. And most of us have some sort of frantic engine going of trying to get something. Whether it be love or admiration or approval or winning or whatever it is. We're always trying to get something out of a situation or out of other people, out of our teachers, out of our traditions, but it's already all coming toward us already. And we're just like, it's like bad sex. If you move too fast and you're constantly doing something, then it ruins it.
When we're trying to get things too, like by trying to get something, we're trying to get the thing we think it is. Like if we're trying to get love, we're trying to get our version of what we think it is. So we're never surprised, or we miss the surprise if it actually shows up.
Exactly. Or you just miss what's actually happening.
Is that also part of everything is auspicious? That, we might be scrambling for love from whoever, but that, love might show up to us in a form that we don't particularly like, but it's still, or we don't, we have an idea of what it is, but what's actually there is still auspicious, even if it doesn't fit our category of thing that we're grappling for.
This is what I think approval looks like, or this is what I think compassion looks like, or this is what I think whatever looks like. And then, first of all, it's a very narrow definition, whatever it is. So anything outside of that gets discounted. We're always looking for that particular thing and missing what's really going on. And it's all just happening at we're these little mechanisms just turning around and doing the same thing over and over again, making the same demand on other people and on reality and on ourselves over and over and over again. And we could get that thing over and over and over again too, I mean, look at our relationship to like likes on social media. I don't know what any of your particular relationship to that is, but you know, some people check their things every day to see how many likes they get, and they get upset if someone doesn't like something or they don't get a lot of likes on something. But the fact of the matter is, if they got continual likes, it would not change their circumstance one iota. They would still want more likes. You know, let's say they had like a month of continually streaming likes, never a moment of non-liking, and then on the first of the next month the likes stopped. They would be in the same condition. And these kinds of trying to get things is based on, first of all, the feeling that you don't have those things, and that the second of all, the feeling that whatever you don't have has to come to you from somewhere else. These are like real feelings people have, you know, not concepts, but real feelings. If you have those experiences, like I don't have love, I don't have approval, I must get it from someone else or something else, it will never work. It will just never work. I mean, you have to feel that thread, that vibrating thread of value and love and kindness toward yourself, and just that wellspring within yourself. You have to go there. And it doesn't mean being like one of those like pop psychology, you must love yourself and support yourself and do it all by yourself. And I mean, that kind of thing is just the flip side of the coin, right? It means you have to actually feel a kind of inner generosity toward yourself that allows something in. You have to be willing to allow in what you think is not there for you. So again, like if your definition of reality is that it's not there, whatever it is, then you're continually trying to get something, but if you don't know that it's there already, you can't ever have it. In Daniel Odier's first book, I can't remember what it's called, but he goes to this yogini and wants tantric teachings. And she says to him, do you know the nature of reality? This is paraphrasing and not exact quotes. But she says to him, do you know the nature of reality? He says, no, that's why I'm coming to you. And she says, well, then I can't teach you. Go away. Like he tries to remember some moments in his life when he felt that he experienced the nature of reality or a feeling of connectedness. And he comes back to her and he says, well, actually, I've thought about it, and I remember these times when I felt my connection to everything. And she said, okay, I can teach you. This has to do with this idea that in order to experience the fruit of the path, you have to have already experienced it on some level first. You can't be open to receiving it if you haven't already had a taste of it. It's paradoxical, but not really. The teachings resonate in your heart because you already have some experience of the teaching. It's not fully formed, it's not fully blown or bloomed, but it's like there, and you have to keep going back to that. And then you can receive what you're really looking for. The Hiranyagarbha meditation is a very good way to start to feel that directly, I find anyway. It's a graspable, right? And it doesn't have to be much, it's just a pinhole even. But you have to like go into it and make it more than a pinhole. You have to pay attention to it. It's almost like a thread, like a vibrating thread of something in your heart that is alive and perfect and undamaged and full of everything that you're longing for. You know, it's already there. When we start off on something like this, we can feel very dependent on teacher and community and transmission and teachings and our practice, and that can go on for ages. But in the end, we're not dependent on any of that. Right? I mean, we're dependent on everything all at once. Ma said, I need all of you. But she didn't need any one particular person. Right? She needed the whole thing, you know. So that's our destination, right? Our destination is to be unattached from things arising in a particular way, but to be immersed in everything all the time, experiencing samavesha. Never any actual aloneness in the way that we experience it in our ordinary lives.